Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. I'm Stu Whiffin. Alongside me always, Blake Harrison. Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
All right. It's been a while, hasn't it?
It's been a little while. It's got colder. It's so cold now. I'm like, is it time to put the heating on? The working class boy in me is like, no, not yet. Not yet. We've all got jumpers. We've got blankets. Let's not do the heating yet.
It's
getting close. Oh, look at those. For those of you on YouTube, you should see. Woohoo! Stu Whiffin's got his legs out.
No, I'm naked from the waist down.
Oh, no, brilliant. Yeah, good. So is it all quite shriveled up down there, is it? Yeah,
it's like that bit where Dumbo takes a big trunk full of water and it all just kind of compresses. That's what it looks like. It's a nice visual for you there, people.
I don't even remember that bit of Dumbo, but that just sounds horrible. It sounds absolutely horrendous.
Do you know what? What's weird is it was like really sunny, like literally 2 days ago, and then it's just gone from that to scraping ice off the window of my car this morning. It's ridiculous, but I'm still hanging on to the shorts, and but I think this could be the last day of 2023. So shout out the shorts. It's been emotional.
Shout out the shorts. That's it. Those lovely little pins have got one day before they're incarcerated for another 6 or 7 months until the summer rolls around again. That's it. Yeah. Those poor boys. Right. Dear. Anyway, enough about Stu's legs.
Exactly.
We were just discussing this kind of before recording. We don't know what to do because this is supposed to be the pre-294 episode, but a lot has happened over the last kind of week in terms of like news and other things going on. We had
nothing more newsworthy than 294 changes, which obviously we're going to discuss.
Yes, obviously, but we've had Barbosa versus Yusuf, which was an incredible fight, and there were some other good fights on that card as well. Cage Warriors with Paul Hughes and Mason Jones and all that kind of stuff. There's been the whole USADA thing, USADA and UFC at each other's throats. It's all a bit messy. And now also we had the yawn Misfits boxing going on as well, which we're the MMA Fan Show. We don't really care about that, but it's such a big deal. Everyone bloody talks about it. I feel like, well, I don't know if it will be after this, because should we just dive straight into that very quickly, because I don't want to take up too much time on it. But Jesus, apparently it was incredibly boring. Now, I am not ever going to be foolish enough to pay money to watch Misfits boxing. Never going to happen. So I didn't do that. I am well aware of what happened from social media with the Dylan Dennis, Logan Paul thing. And I was scrolling through Twitter the next morning and it said, KSI Tommy Fury fight. And I was like, well, this can't be the fight. Like, well, it must be like a little clip or something like that. No, it was the full fight. And even though I was watching it on my phone for free, I was still fast forwarding the vast majority of it because it was so boring. So, that's
the clips that I saw Dylan Dennis go shoot for a takedown, which just thought I didn't think
get
that
stuffed.
was in the rules. But the rest of it, I saw KSI in the KSI fight. Looked like, I know he trains at shoot fighters, but he'd kind of adopted that MVP style of that kind of sort of butterflying of the arms and that sort of low slung technique, which the clips I saw looked like it kind of confused Tommy Fury a little bit. But what it also done was made for a really rubbish fight.
Well, because it looked like what he would do is he would do the whole I'm doing jumping jacks. Then all of a sudden he lunged in kind of explosive sort of MVP style with a jab or a 1-2. And then they would just hug for quite a long period of time. Tommy Fury had a point taken away from him from punching to the back of the head. But I mean, they were just hugging the whole time. I don't really know. And it looks like maybe KSI should have won that fight from the little that I did see of it. It looks like Tommy Fury had a point taken away and maybe KSI did do enough to win the fight. But look, I mean, ultimately, who gives a shit?
Right. Look.
No one cares. This is an endeavor in making money. It's not an endeavor in like being the best or being really good. I do think we should touch again on Dylan Dennis because something else happened at the end. You must be aware where he went for the guillotine.
No, I didn't see this. Right, no.
Oh my God. So the end of the fight, because it was a disqualification in the end. It wasn't
Right.
Logan Paul by decision. It was disqualification because Dylan Dennis tried to get a guillotine. Paul just kind of pushed him off. And while he was on his back, Paul just laid a ground and pound strike on him, which again, not in the rules, guys. No one should be doing this. Then ran away. Dylan Dennis jumped up and with the most aggression I think he must have had through the whole fight. Again, I didn't see it. This is what I'm hearing and getting from social media and stuff. With most aggression that he had in the entire fight, Dylan Dennis then chases Logan Paul around the ring. Security step in. Dylan Dennis waits till he's about 5 feet away from the guy from security to swing a punch that's obviously going to miss. Then the ring is just then filled with security and other people. There's like 80 people in the ring, just big brawl, kind of pulling each other apart type thing happening. Disqualification. Dylan Dennis loses. And yeah, that's that.
Let's try and find a positive in this, right? The only thing that we can hope is that audiences that would never have tuned in to watch, I was about to say, a Tyson Fury fight, but he's fighting Francis Ngannou, so that negates that. But if I don't know, tuning in to watch a great boxing match, and they're not because they're watching, these YouTubers. There's a place for it somewhere. If it's bringing attention on combat sports and it's getting young kids in gyms learning combat sports, I'm on board with it. Apart from that, it's just a shower of shit, isn't it? And I don't really see that. Yeah, I just hope that those kids that get inspired to go and join combat, sports clubs, don't, actually get their eyes opened when they go there and go, oh, that shit I was watching. That's not it.
Yeah.
Like, there's actually really good stuff out there. It's a shame that it gets so much attention. And I'm aware that we've been speaking about it for 7 minutes. So should we move on and just touch on some of the other stuff?
Real fighting. Proper fighting.
We saw Sadiq Youssef fight Edson Barbosa on Saturday evening. What a fight.
What a fight.
Edson Barbosa is a fucking don, mate. I'll tell you. Like, how he got through that first round, I've no idea.
There is a reasonable argument, I think, for a 10-7 in that first round. It's really could have been a 10-7. Like, it was so dominant and really could have been finished. But props to the ref. I can't remember who was reffing that fight. I don't know if it was Herb Dean. But well done to whoever was reffing that fight, if it was Herb Dean, especially because people love to get on Herb Dean's back if he's doing a bad job. And actually, you got to credit people when they do good jobs. Was it Herb Dean? Was it someone else?
I thought it was Herb, but it might not.
Yeah. Anyway, I can't remember. Point being, if you can't remember, they've probably done a decent job. It could have been stopped. It gave him the benefit of the doubt, and then Barbosa, I think, basically won every round after that, and particularly round 3, where he nearly got another spinning wheel kick knockout. And to be fair, he must have been a bit woozy and all over the shop, because I think you could see from Edson Barbosa that even though he was continually fighting back and actually winning rounds, he still looked wobbly for the entirety of the fight almost. But he landed that spinning wheel kick on Youssef, who was really hurt by it. But then instead of going for like proper good ground and pound, he seemed to maybe try and get like a choke in or something like that. And it was like, mate, you could have finished it there and then. But what a cracking fight.
Yeah, experience shone through there.
Oh, it did. And we've had that the last couple of weeks. The experienced guy, like Bobby Green versus Grant Dawson. I know it was a very different style of fight and it didn't go the way.
He didn't really have a lot of time to really showcase that experience.
It did not, but experience matters. You want to be young, hungry, and in your prime, but experience really counts for something. We've seen that over the last 2 weeks. Barbosa, man. Woo! What a win. What a win. And I love that, man.
Go on, sorry.
No, I just love it. He's had. I haven't pulled. I've been really unprepared, and I haven't pulled up all my usual pages. But if you've got Tapology up there or anything like that, just slip onto Edson Barbosa's Tapology page. That man has fought such a ridiculous Like, he's got such a ridiculous resume of fights. I mean, he doesn't always win them, but he's fought the best of the best of the best relentlessly. It's like him and Rafael dos Anjos that I think have probably got like the craziest resumes in the UFC in terms of like not always winning, but always fighting the top level guys.
Yeah, I did also want to shout out Melissa Dixon, who was on the undercard, on the prelims, who made a UFC debut. I think she's fighting out of Ipswich or is it Norwich?
Coventry, I think.
So, of course, and I was watching that fight. Why am I forget that? I was in Coventry Saturday night, and the bars were alive for Melissa Dixon. And,
really?
Yeah, and I'd completely forgot that it started relatively early, and I was in a bar in Coventry, and in the bar opposite me they had a massive screen, so I could sit in a quiet bar, being all 50 years of age, but I could see the madness in the bar across the road. So I did actually get to watch it in Coventry. So shout out to Melissa Dixon. We did reach out to her before the fight, and she's up for coming on. So when she gets back
fantastic.
to the UK, we'll have a chat with Melissa.
Yeah, that was what a fight that was. Melissa Dixon, what a way to announce yourself to the UFC audience. I mean, definitely some things to work on. And she even mentioned that. I thought she was maybe even slightly harsh on herself in the post-fight interview, kind of saying that, you know, she knows she can do a lot better, blah, blah, blah. But when you're talking about just sheer will and determination, fighting through the pain and I don't know, possibly a broken nose or whatever was going on with her, she was fantastic. Great grappling, just an absolute brawler on the feet as well. Like, loved it. But what a fantastic way to announce yourself to the UFC audience. And it's fights like that, particularly in, let's be honest, a rather stale bantamweight division in the UFC, that won't go unnoticed.
Absolutely.
And she could be someone that, you know, give her some time to maybe recover, get her another fight, and then get her on a London card or a UK card or whatever. Then but that could be something special for her.
Okay, there's not too much to say about Paul Hughes.
Can I just because we have to just. You have to give props to Edson Barbosa. Can I just run through his resume from 2014? So from 9.5 years ago, Donald Cerrone, Evan Dunham, Bobby Green, Michael Johnson, Paul Felder, Tony Ferguson, Anthony Pettis, Gilbert Melendez, Benil Dariush, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Kevin Lee, Dan Hooker, Justin Gaethje, Paul Felder again, Dan Ige, Amir Khani, Shane Burgos, Giga Chikadze, Bryce Mitchell, Billy Quarantillo, Sadiq Youssef. What the fuck?
Who's left? No one.
That's
all of them.
Do you know what? Do you know who's left and who I don't want anywhere near an interim title fight for the featherweight division? Max Holloway.
Yeah.
Do that. Just do Max Holloway. That's what I'd like to see. Do Max Holloway. Keep him the hell away from Ilia Topuria, because we're going to go on to this. I don't want to lose the Ilia Topuria Volk fight. I definitely don't want to see Max v Volk for a unification fight for like the fourth or fifth time. Do something like that. That would be fun.
Okay. Well, let's quickly shout out fantastic win for Paul Hughes, moving up. And did he vacate the belt as well?
Well, I don't know what he's done with his featherweight belt. I imagine he must have done. Yeah. So he must have. So featherweight in Cage Warriors is going to be fantastic again. Obviously, you've got, was it James Hendon? You've got Harry Hardwick, Luke Riley, Jordan Vucenic. Oh, there's so many good featherweights in Cage Warriors. So that's surely they're going to do a little mini tournament for that. Great win for Paul Hughes. It was that left hook, wasn't it? Just slept him. Really beautiful shot. And Jesus Christ, UFC, hurry up and sign the man.
Yeah,
what is going on?
You know, we've heard all sorts of things about Paul in the UFC. Whatever's gone on, whatever, just get him in there because he's phenomenal. And,
absolutely,
and can't wait to see him Flex his guns there. Right. Okay.
Lex's guns. Shout out to Mason Jones as well, who got a win. Former guest of the show. And I know we've gone from UFC to Cage Warriors, but one of my favorite fighters, Michelle Pereira, also fought and starched Andre Petrovsky within seconds. Up at middleweight now, not cutting the weight down at welterweight. Hopefully he's going to have more cardio. He's going to be fun, explosive, more durable. Michel Pereira is a guy that I've been a fan of for such a long time. I really, really hope that that this is the start of him having a more active career. So yeah, well done, Michel Pereira as well. Right. I don't know how long
can we get on
for.
to 294? I just want to talk about how much I fucking love two-time former guest of the show, Alexander Volkanovski. He's the fucking man, isn't he?
He is the man. He's the absolute man. What do you say? 11 days notice, upper weight class to rematch a guy that's beat him, that happens to be one of the pound for pound best on the planet.
Yeah, fuck it, mate. Count me in. You know
Count me in, mate. Fucking just had surgery, mate, but fuck it. There's a kangaroo shit in the bush. Let's go. Let's fucking go. Yeah, man. Oh, what an absolute. Just had surgery a little while ago. I mean, all right.
Before we get into this, right, can I just say, right, for listeners to this podcast, right, we've been really lucky that we've had Volk on the podcast twice, right? Let me just give you, if you don't already love this geezer enough, right, he's got no need to engage with me and Blake on anything, right? We're these thirsty like podcasters that have managed to get him on twice. At the blue, a week ago, we got a little message in our Instagram from Volk just saying, "How you doing, boys? All good?" What? I mean, that shows you like what an absolute legend he is. I was like, Blake, Volk's just swung past and just asked us if we're all right. I was like, mate, I am now.
Something's just occurred to me.
Go on.
Do you think he knew something then and was trying to give us a scoop?
Oh, don't say that.
Oh, no. We're idiots. It's like, how nice is Volk? And actually, he was trying to help us out. And
give us the exclusive.
Give us the exclusive. And all we probably messaged back was like, yeah, mate, we're good. How are you doing?
That's exactly what we done.
Such idiots. We'd probably should have been like, what's the news, mate? What's going on? What have you got for us?
Ariel wouldn't have done that, would he? He would have been straight on it, like glitter on glue. What you got?
Oh, we're useless. Oh, man. But yeah, no, we do. You have come to a slightly biased podcast. We love Volk. I am a fan of Islam Makhachev, great fighter, but I love Volkanovski. But all right, can I piss on the parade a little bit?
I'd rather you didn't.
I know, but is it a bit disappointing that, and I'm sort of playing devil's advocate here, is it a bit disappointing that we're getting this fight in the manner that we are? Because the first fight back in February is a fight of the year contender. Some people thought Volk won that fight. It's a fight. The rematch had to happen. We all wanted the rematch. Is it slightly disappointing that we're getting this rematch when Volk is only on 11 days notice and hasn't had a proper camp?
I think I'll take it because I still think it will be a better fight than what Makhachev Charles would have been. Because I do think Volk, as well, he's been in there. He's gone 5 rounds with Islam, and like you say, some people thought he won. He kind of knows what to expect, and he knows how to nullify these things because we saw it. Yes, of course, we'd love to, see him go in on a full camp, but I don't think, the guy always looks like he's in shape. And I know there's being in shape and then there's being fight ready, but I'll take it. And I think what we've got here, if Volk falls short, I don't think it's going to do his stock any harm because he's took that fight when who the fucking hell wants to fight Islam Makhachev? Like that, no one wants that. And
well, you could say that because he's the champion, everyone wants it.
I guess, but who's going to beat him? I guess it should have been the question. I don't think anyone's going to beat him. I think the only person that's got a chance of beating him is Alexander Volkanovski. And as I'm saying this, I'm now thinking, so I might as well have just answered your question at the beginning by going, yeah, maybe you should have had a full camp. Yes, I'd rather have that. So I've done a complete fucking U-turn on what I was saying there. But yeah, I do think.
Well, no, but are you saying that you think Volk on 11 days' notice has got more chance of beating him than Oliveira on like an 8-week camp?
Yes.
Well, then there you go. You got a better fight. That's it. And the thing is, I'm slightly playing devil's advocate here because the other thing is, I really wanted to see this rematch. Yes, I would like to see Volk on a full camp. That would be the proper fight. But there's a world in which this fight never happens. Look, the MMA is a crazy sport. You know, we were supposed to be getting Israel Adesanya versus Dricus du Plessis, and we'll get on to the poor old Dricus crying into his blanket and cup of tea in a little bit. But this, you know, there's so many variables that have to happen in this sport. It's such a crazy sport with injuries, schedules, and all that kind of stuff. Volk was, as far as I'm aware, Volk was loosely preparing for Ilia Topuria in January in Toronto. Now, Volk, I think, has come out and said, once I deal with Islam, I'll still be able to do that. Credit to you if you can, but Jesus Christ, you never know what's going to happen. This is this crazy sport. So we don't know what might happen in Toronto in January for UFC 297, but Volk would have been preparing as a featherweight. He wouldn't have been in full camp yet. He would have still been enjoying himself. So his cardio won't be there either. So size and cardio, two big factors there. When you're moving up a weight class to take on someone like Islam Makhachev, who's been in camp, you look back at that first fight, the most definitive round for Volkanovski was round 5 when Islam started to tire. So you would have thought in a rematch, put that pressure on, be on him a bit quicker and try and tire him out a bit quicker. Now, on 11 days' notice, are you going to have the gas tank to do that?
Who was the backup fighter?
Gamrot.
Yeah, no one wants that.
Well, I mean, I'd actually love to
away
see
from
it.
Gamrot, but
you're right. It's not the pay-per-view here, is it?
Charles pulls out. Oh, don't worry, it's Gamrot. Oh,
I would have been into it.
No,
I would have. I wouldn't have been into it as much as this, and globally, it wouldn't have sold as much as this. However,
that's why I fucking love the UFC. Oh look, Gamrot, it's average at best, isn't it? Should we give Volk a call? Fuck it, yeah, go on then.
And it's not like Volk's just like any old guy. He's the featherweight champion of the world, and he's the number 2 on the UFC rankings for pound best fighter on the planet underneath John Jones. Like, that's not just pulling it. That is like in boxing, AJ's meant to be fighting Wilder. And they go, Wilder's injured. Let's pull in Usyk or Tyson Fury. Or
it would never happen in boxing. It
could not happen in boxing. This is such a brilliant thing that the UFC are capable of doing. And you could argue, and we'll get onto this again in a minute with the co-main, you could argue that the main and co-main event now, from that moment that 10 days notice at these two fights changed, you could argue that it's a better card now than what it was prior to the injuries and when it was the original card.
Okay. Well, look, should we talk about the co-main?
Well, no, there's still so much more to talk about. Stu, we've got to talk about it. No, but do you think this is a no-lose situation for Volk stepping in on this short notice?
100%. The only thing, right, where I see this might not be great is if he loses this, right? But I think that's fine. But if he loses to Topuria, then I wonder about the road back and what options there are. Because if he would have lost to Topuria, I still think they would have wanted Volk Makhachev 2 at some point, and I think that could have been an option. I presume with Volk's record at featherweight, if he loses to Topuria, he gets an automatic rematch. That's got to be a given.
I would say so, yeah.
Do you think losing at lightweight would affect that?
I shouldn't think so. I think it'll affect him and the way we look, because then he'll be staring down the barrel of a 3-fight losing streak if he were to lose to Topuria twice. For me, the loss in this situation for Volk is he probably won't fight for the lightweight belt again, because if he loses to Makhachev again on 11 days' notice, which, let's be honest, that's the likely outcome. The likely outcome, as much as we want in our hearts for Volk to win, the likely outcome is that Islam Makhachev beats him, because he's been on a full camp and he beat him the first time. And I scored it for Makhachev. You know, as much as I'm a big Volk fan, I'm not going to sit here and lie and chat rubbish. I scored the fight for Islam Makhachev. And so if he loses, he won't get to fight for that lightweight belt again. I don't think, because I can't see Islam losing. I can see Islam moving up to welterweight potentially, and then that maybe opens a door for him. But it becomes convoluted and tricky. He'd have to win a fight, I think, maybe. And I don't know. It becomes tricky. And he's not young anymore, Volk. Is he like 34, 35, something like that, Volk? Like, he's not got long left to be doing this. So I do think there is.
Do you think in hindsight he should have maybe said no and waited until?
No, I don't. I don't know about that, because I don't. Do you know what? I don't know. Or I'm not saying he should have said no. I'm saying there are people saying, "Oh, this is win-win for Volk. There's no loss here. There's nothing." Like it was an easy decision to make, because he gets to fight the champ. He gets an extra big paycheck. He's probably got a little bit of extra money on the side because he's come in and saved the card. And you know, he's the featherweight champ. There's nothing to lose here. And I would say, actually, there is something to lose here. And that is his chance of being a double champ is probably gone if he loses this fight. So I think there is something.
You had to spoil it, didn't you?
I did. I'm sorry. I'm urinating over everyone's parades today. Bladder is full and it needs to be emptied, my friend. But I mean, do we need to give props to Makhachev as well? Like, yes, he's been on a full fight. Nah, fuck Makhachev, nah. No, I think you do a little bit. Like, not as much as Volk, but I know there's this whole thing of like, well, Makhachev's accepted a short notice fight as well. He's gone from a tall, lanky Charles Oliveira to this short, stocky guy that's given him his toughest fight to date on 11 days' notice. It is a big stylistic change, but what you would have to say is at least his cardio should be on point, where he should be better than Volk. And on top of that, he's been training for an all-rounder. It's a different type of all-rounder. Volk is more of a, I'm going to stuff your takedowns. I'm going to get back to my feet. I could wrestle you a little bit. And I'm a different kind of striker. But he has trained to be good everywhere. It's not like he's trained to fight an Israel Adesanya type who's just good at like one thing. He's trained to fight someone that's very well-rounded in Charles Oliveira, and his opponent is a very well-rounded Alexander Volkanovski. So I think you do have to give him some credit for taking the fight, but nowhere near as much as Volk.
How does this fight go?
Do you know what? 2023 has been a mad year.
I'm telling you. I've
been
got
a mad year.
I've got a wild one.
We've seen Alexa Grasso beat Shevchenko. We've seen Sean Strickland.
Of the world.
What the hell? Sean, it still blows my mind. Sean Strickland outpointed Adesanya. He didn't knock him out. He didn't get him in some random scramble and take his back. He outpointed Israel Adesanya. The MMA gods are looking at 2023 and just going, we're going to put this on a spin cycle and just see what comes out the wash and just go crazy. And Volkanovski stepping in on 11 days' notice to fight a guy that a lot of people think is possibly the best fighter on the planet right now. Man, it would be crazy, and it would be very in keeping with 2023. So I'm gonna, like, my head's saying Makhachev. I'm not gonna lie, but there's something in me that just goes, it's been a mad year. Let's carry on the carnage and let's go for a Volk win.
Second round, Volk, ground and pound.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Oh, you crazy old bastard. Oh, man, I love it. Oh, man. Oh, we're going to end up watching Makhachev lay and pray for 5 rounds, aren't we? It's going to be terrible. We're going to be crying. Oh, man. But what a fight. What a fight.
Incredible. incredible. Let's move up to 185. And Aziz Kamaru Usman to fight Hamzat Chimaev, who was meant to have been fighting Costa, which was a great fight because of the kind of beef and stuff. But
yeah,
I really like this fight, and I just wonder on, again, as you said, it's about Volk on such short notice moving up to fight at 185. Usman on a 2-fight win streak. Did he beat anyone before?
Losing streak, mate.
Sorry, losing streak. Did he fight in between the Leon rematch? He didn't, did he?
No. Right.
Okay. I mean,
2-fight losing streak against Leon.
I mean, the last fight was very close, and we saw, a fantastic fighter in Usman, just losing out to Leon. So, I mean, this is a very, very different fight to Leon Edwards. We know that Leon's strength is his striking, and his takedown defense is phenomenal. Whereas Hamzat, you've just got a lunatic steamrolling at you that can pick you up and literally smash you into the ground, and
yep,
it can do it all. I don't know if the MMA gods are going to be shining down on Kamaru Usman for this one. I do worry. I think it's some props to Kamaru for taking this fight again. Chimaev, I don't imagine many people fancy him. Like, that's a rough night for anyone, isn't it?
Yeah, but do you know what? I don't know. I see it slightly differently. I'll take on Chimaev, yeah, mate. Oh, yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. My skinny frame, he won't know what to do with it. I think this is good for Usman, and I think this is and I think that I'm going to favour Chimaev, but there's a lot of factors in this that you have to pull apart and think about. And I think, firstly, before we even get onto the fight itself, I'm really glad this fight has happened, because I think this is a way better fight than Costa versus Chimaev. I think the build-up Costa Chimaev would have been way more fun. That would have been great. That would have been hilarious. But the actual fight itself, I think what we're getting when we're seeing Usman fight Chimaev is, I think we're getting more questions answered. Because if Chimaev can maul Usman, who is a decorated, very, very strong wrestler, then Jesus Christ, what do the rest of the human race, what are they going to do with him? Just put him up to heavyweight. Like, what do you do with him? And if he can completely outstrike Usman and not just get into a brawl like he did with Gilbert Burns, then again, great, because Usman's made loads of strides in his striking as well over the last few years under Trevor Whitman. So I actually think this is a much tougher fight for Hamzat than Costa. I think that we're going to find out a lot more about Hamzat's abilities. Yes, he'll be bigger. He will be bigger. But I think Usman is a better fighter than Paulo Costa, even on 11 days' notice. And I'm really looking forward to it. And I think when you think about it, yes, Hamzat's only 12-0. Yes, he's mauled everyone, bar Gilbert Burns, where he had a fight of the year. He has mauled absolutely everyone, like a dad playing with his kid in the park just for a laugh. He's absolutely just smashed them, hasn't he? When he picked up Li Jingliang, walked him over to Dana, dumped him in front of him, and was having a chat with Dana. Like, what the hell are you talking? Like, that's just madness.
What was going through Li Jingliang's head then at that point? Like, mate, I'm right here. What are you doing? Why are you having a conversation with someone else while I'm literally over your shoulder?
Yeah, mate, it's just unbelievable. And then, but Usman's had like double the fights Chimaev has had. Usman has also fought the best of the best for a really long time in 5-round fights. Chimaev has never fought anyone as good as Usman. Nowhere near as good as Usman. Like Li Jingliang, Kevin Holland, Gilbert Burns. they're not Kamaru Usman. Like, yes, you could argue, Usman's on a 2-fight losing streak, but to Leon Edwards, who I think is very underrated, could Usman be on the decline? Yes, he is getting a bit older. But I still think even if he's on a slight decline, he's still the toughest opponent Khamzat has had to date. And there's a very good possibility that Khamzat goes all guns blazing in the first 3.5, 4 minutes of this fight. Can't take Usman down because Usman's wrestling so good. Usman survives an onslaught and then just starts getting his jab going, working that same jab that dropped Gilbert Burns in their fight. And all of a sudden, Khamzat's like, oh, shit, I'm in a real fight here with a guy that, let's face it, 2-3 years ago, Usman was the pound-for-pound best fighter on the planet. He was talking about skipping middleweight because Adesanya's his mate and he's the champ, and going up to light heavyweight to fight Jan Blachowicz. That's the guy we're talking about. We're not talking about just some whatever. We're not talking about a Tyron Woodley, I don't think, who lost and then just really capitulated. We're talking about a guy that's still really, really good in Kamaru Usman. So I think this could be a tough fight for Chimaev. I would pick Chimaev to win. But I think this is a really, really tough fight for him.
I don't know. I'd be interested to. I was pleased to see. Obviously, we was there for it, and it kind of. I was pleased to see that he recovered from that. That obviously the headshot from Leon, and was, you know, fought a really good fight in London in the rematch. But I didn't necessarily see anything in that fight that, and I'm not taking anything away from Leon Edwards, and I agree he's very underrated. But I didn't see anything there that made me think, oh, he would really give someone like Khamzat problems, because I just.
But
think...
Khamzat's not the striker Leon Edwards is.
No, he's not.
Khamzat, and if he can't get him down, which let's be honest, Usman might stuff all of Khamzat's takedown. He might not. If he again, if Khamzat can just maul Usman, then you're like, Jesus, man, what's going to happen? With this guy is just going to be champ.
If he stuffs them takedowns and you know, gets through the first couple of rounds, then, you know, and then Chimaev's now thinking, right, well, I've got a fight on my hands. Like, is Kamaru's cardio going to be there taking a fight at 185?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll be less depleted because he's not had to cut the weight. And I think that Kamaru Usman is one of those elite level, hard-working fighters. I don't think he's the type of guy that's out of camp for long. And if he is, I don't think he's the type of guy to get out of shape. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think he's one of these guys that even when he doesn't have a fight booked, is in and out of the gym, just sort of staying fit and healthy. And I think that's the kind of guy he is. So yeah, go on.
In regards to 185, like a win for Chimaev, where does that put him? Because he's not beaten a seasoned middleweight, is he? He's beaten a welterweight.
Well, I was going to ask this question, then I've looked up. I think Dana White has already addressed this, and he has said the winner of this fight gets the title shot.
Interesting.
No, go back and reference the Dricus du Plessis crying into his cup of tea statement back there. Like, I mean, I do feel for Dricus beating Robert Whittaker, who's been like the number one contender for years and years and years since losing to Adesanya, and just never quite being able to beat Adesanya, but has taken out everyone else. Beating Robert Whittaker counts for something, and Dricus du Plessis should be fighting for the belt in his next fight. There's no question about it. But the UFC operates in the way they operate. And Dricus du Plessis not fighting Adesanya on 6 weeks' notice, which I think is completely understandable. You don't fight Robert Whittaker in a 3-round fight. Or it wasn't 3 rounds, actually. Was it? I can't remember what happened in that fight now. But you don't beat Robert Whittaker and then 6 weeks later go and fight Adesanya. Like that you can't expect that of someone. Yeah. But because he turned that opportunity down, everything has gone loopy, and Sean Strickland's now the middleweight champion of the world. But the UFC, I think, are punishing him. They're saying, You didn't want to take the fight, so you got to win another one before you get belt now.
Kicking himself.
He's really kicking him off because you look at the Adesanya that turned up. I mean, maybe that Adesanya wouldn't have turned up for Dricus because he would have been more interested in smashing him up. But I just think that, I think Dricus is really quite hard done by here because, as you say, Hamzat, big star, Usman, former champ in the lower weight class, but neither of them have got a win at middleweight. So whoever wins this fight is just going to be shoved into the middleweight rankings despite never beating a middleweight, and get the title shot.
Nothing will make me happier than seeing Usman smash Sean Strickland. I'd love to see that. To be honest, I'd like to see Hamzat smash Sean Strickland, to be honest. I don't really care, actually. Anyone. But I do think that this is a very big ask for Kamaru, and I can't see it happening.
Do you know what, though? There's no better fight for him. There's no better fight. What do you do? Stay at 170 and fight Bilal Muhammad? What's that going to do for you? Nothing. Like, it's not going to do anything for your career, is it? Like, what's it going to do? Nothing.
There's some like UFC support group where there's just like Bilal. He's just sort of sitting there.
Bilal and Dricus. And now Marab Divalishvili as well, probably. Yeah. They're all in it. Marab, Dricus, Bilal. They're just like, oh, what
one
the
at a time
UFC's
standing
done
up.
to me.
I'm Dricus Duplessis, and I can't get a fight in the UFC.
No, I earned a title shot. Like, Leon used to be a member of that group.
There's just an empty chair where Leon used to sit.
Leon used to sit. I'm going to have to just pause for a moment. My wife is crawling around the room trying not to be on screen because she's looking for something. Yeah, we're recording. This is going out. What the hell are you doing? She's lost some documents.
Sorry, everyone.
This is shockingly unprofessional.
Oh my God, guys, I'm going to have to lift up some stuff for my wife to check. So my wife put her passport underneath the printer where I balance everything.
Unbelievable.
I'm going to show you.
Unbelievable.
She's running now. Jesus, get out! Get the hell out of here! God, we're doing an important podcast.
For God's
Jesus
sake.
Christ. Well, see what I'm working with here? No respect.
Blake,
no
this
respect.
can never, ever happen again. All right? That was absolutely no.
It's grounds for divorce. It's grounds for divorce. You're divorced? Right. Sorry to everyone listening. But
look,
yeah,
so you're thinking, who are you picking?
I'm picking Hamzat.
Right.
I'm not going to be surprised if Usman does him. I will not be surprised.
Okay. On paper, this looks fucking great, this fight.
Have you made your
pick?
pick?
I think Hamzat wins it as well. Like,
but you think quite comfortably. Would you, if Usman won, would you be shocked?
Like, no, because he's Kamaru Usman. Like, of course, he's got a chance.
Sounds like you're changing your tune a little bit there, mate. To be honest, not too sure.
Well, look,
now, have I convinced you? Were you like, he's got no chance, and then Blake stepped in and he's like,
you did put a good case forward. I've got to admit.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, let's move on. Let's move on to the next fight. And there's a few other fights that we want to touch on before we wrap this one up. And thankfully, Johnny Walker is going to make a fight with hopefully Ankalaev more fun than his last fight. And I think when we talk about the UFC punishing fighters, I definitely think Ankalaev is one of those that has kind of he's ranked number one, and he should be. He should be getting the shots, but that fight was so boring.
You're talking about the Jan Blachowicz fight, yeah?
Of course, yeah. Sorry.
So anyone that Jan Blachowicz, Ankalaev's last fight was that fight with Jan Blachowicz for the vacant light heavyweight belt that ended in a draw, which led to a month later Glover versus Jamal Hill, and the story goes on from there. Ankalaev could very well be the best light heavyweight on the planet. He could be. But he just doesn't excite the fans. His fights are generally a bit dull. because he's so technically sound, defensively sound. But it just means that fans don't get behind him. And that's why you've got your Yuri Prohashkas and your Alex Pereiras getting title shots over him. So yeah, it is it's a difficult one for Ankalaev. He could be part of that group if he gets if he wins this and doesn't get a title shot or whatever, he'll be part of that group.
It's a shit group to be part of.
It is. I feel for them. I do feel for him. I feel like Bilal's actually got quite a bit of personality about him, and I feel like he could be a bit of a laugh, Bilal Muhammad. So I feel for him being in there with Ankalaev. And actually, no, I like Merab as well. Merab and Bilal will be hanging out, and then Ankalaev and Dricus will just be kind of like stood there.
Why am I picturing
sad.
Merab in this support group just wearing Sean's red leather still?
Oh, he's definitely still wearing that jacket. Of course he is. He fucking loves that jacket.
Well, look, let's talk about Johnny Walker, because after the losses to Santos and Jamal Hill, has gone on a 3-fight tear, choking at Cutelaba, and then obviously we saw him hammer fist our very own Paul Craig, and then gets the win over Anthony Smith, which has kind of rejuvenated his career, because before the Santos fight, he got the win over Ryan Spann, but he'd lost to Krylov and Corey Anderson. So it was a real up and down sort of a few years for Johnny. And like I say, them last 3 fights, he's looked exciting, he's looked interesting. And I think, we're the world's, the UFC's paying attention. And I think they've given him a great fight on this card, where I think if he wins this, I think the UFC will be more interested in Johnny Walker fighting for a title than Ankalaev, because Johnny Walker's got that flamboyant style and he's unpredictable, and and thankfully that whatever issues he did have with the UFC, he won't be getting changed in the car park in this weekend, hopefully. I think Johnny Walker could win this with something flamboyant. I think he could knock him out. I think if it goes to the ground, I think we get another relatively boring fight. I think if it does go to ground, I think that Ankalaev could finish it quite quickly. But I think that's what makes it a good fight. I think we could see some explosive striking, which could get a nice early knockout, which I'd quite like to see. And I have no issue with Ankalaev, but I just don't want to watch a lay and pray and a bore fest. But I think either way, I don't see this going very long, this fight.
I think Johnny Walker might be the perfect dance partner for Ankalaev, because of the complaints about him maybe not being so exciting. You throw him in there with a guy that, and let's be honest, Johnny Walker has kind of went from being absolutely mad and so much fun to then being a little bit boring for a little bit after he joined SBG. And now he's kind of found that balance, I think, between being an exciting striker that gets his shots off but still does the flying knees and all that stuff, but still being a bit more reserved, not leaving himself completely open for counter strikes and all that kind of stuff. I think that would be interesting to see how Ankalaev approaches this and see if he's learned anything about like the fight game and the fight business. And if he goes out there and does what really he should do for the win, which is just take him down and beat him up a bit, then well done, you've won. Are you really going to be that much closer to a title shot? Maybe, maybe not. We don't know what's going on, because Jamal Hill's still got to come back from injury as well. But if he goes out there and goes, look, I know there's a risk with standing with Johnny Walker, but Johnny Walker is not the most defensively sound fighter, and Ankalaev is very defensively sound. I think there's a world in which this is the perfect fight for Ankalaev, because Ankalaev could knock Johnny Walker out on the feet. I think there's a very high possibility of that. I don't want to say like easily or anything like that, but I think if he can just dance with the devil a little bit, jump into the fire, I think that he could actually come out on top, because I think he's more defensively sound, and I think he could knock Johnny Walker out, and that's what he needs. If he gets a knockout finish on the feet of Johnny Walker, and we all know Johnny Walker's big old lanky body kind of reacts in weird ways when he gets knocked out. Look back at the Jamal Hill one. It could be one of those highlight reel finishes that he really needs to go, boom, I've done that. Give me my title shot. And that's what I think he should try and do is try and knock him out on the feet. Because if he just takes him down and lays on him, I just don't think the UFC are going to be interested. I think they're going to go, where's Jamal at? Is Jamal back yet? Because we'll give him the title shot over Ankalaev because he was the former champ. And then Ankalaev might have to win yet another fight before getting a title shot. So I think he needs to try and get this done on the feet. But I do think if he does that, he could be getting a title shot. And as you pointed out, if Johnny Walker does knock out Ankalaev, or even just wins in general, a fight between Johnny Walker and either Alex Pereira or Yuri Prochazka, that's fun. That's a really fun fight.
That's a great fight. Okay. Other fights on here is, I mean,
there's a few to talk about on the main card, but I think what we should do is switch over to the Brits and let's give the Brits their due. And we've got Mohamed Makayev taking on Tim Elliott down at flyweight. I believe Tim Elliott's ranked 10th. Makayev is ranked 11th. Be really interesting to see where Mohamed Makayev is after that horrendous knee injury against Jafal Fillo in London, where he was in that knee bar, didn't tap. Good on him, amazing stuff, but that must have done some damage. So it'd be interesting to see where his leg's at after that. Have you got much to say about that fight?
I just hope, I'm sure Makayev's excited to be fighting in Abu Dhabi. I hope the crowd there fires him up to put on an exciting fight because I haven't seen him in an exciting fight, and I quite like to see him in one. And hopefully,
Philo was all right, wasn't it? I'm trying to remember. Oh, okay, all right, harsh from within. All right.
No, I don't. The hype that Makayev gets, I always get excited about his fights, and then every time I just think that's really uneventful. I mean, yes, the way that he got out of his leg being bent the wrong way was ridiculous, but yeah, he just doesn't seem to follow through on the hype for me. And yes, he gets the wins, but I don't get excited about watching Mohamed Makayev fight, and I hope that he does something this weekend that kind of gets me back on the hype train, because I've just found him to be quite a boring fighter.
Well, look, Tim Elliott is a tough fight. Well, yeah, Tim Elliott's a tough fight. I mean, I think he's like 4-4 in his last 8 fights. But when you look at who he's lost to, it's like Mateus Nicolau, Brandon Royval, who's fighting for the belt, Askarov, former champion Figueiredo. Like, he doesn't lose to mugs, really. So if Makayev wins this, he's in the top 10. He's beaten a really good veteran in Tim Elliott. And I think he's ready to be put up there with the elite of the division. So, yeah, best of luck to Makayev. And hopefully you can keep Stu as a fan and, do something exciting this time around.
Rumour is he's been losing sleep over that.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
Another Brit and mate of the show who we absolutely love, Nathaniel Wood, taking on, again, a fight on short notice, not as short as, he's been slightly overshadowed by Usman and Volk. They've stolen his thunder. But I think it was only about 3 or 4 weeks that he's had to prepare for Naimov, who, Naimov's only had 1 fight in the UFC, but it was upper weight class.
Jamie Malarkey, right?
It was against Jamie Malarkey, and he knocked out Jamie Malarkey. Now, Malarkey, I think, was winning that fight up until the knockout. But if you've got a guy who's just fought at lightweight and knocked out Jamie Malarkey, fighting at featherweight against a guy that used to be a bantamweight, Nathaniel is going to have to be sharp, on point. He can't do what he did against Feely and get clipped, because this guy's got power. So he's going to have to be sharp. He's going to have to be careful. He's going to have to use what I'm assuming will be a decent speed advantage. Maybe implement a little bit of grappling as well. Again, against a bigger guy, that might be tough, but maybe that's what he needs to do, because Naimov showed some gaps in his grappling against Malarkey. Naimov throws some fun kicks as well, like spinning stuff and all of that as well every now and again, I think. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for Nathaniel Wood to do here, taking this on slightly short notice. But you have to imagine that, the nature of the way the UFC have done business with the likes of Dricus, Usman, Volk, people like that, they like people that do them favors. They like people that come in and go, yeah, I'll fight anyone, anytime, whatever. Let's go. Enemy territory, no problem. And featherweight is a stacked division, so you need to sort of stand out from the crowd. So if Nathaniel Wood wins this fight, he'll be on what, like 4 wins in a row at featherweight.
Mm-hmm.
That'll put him in good stead, you would imagine. And if he wins this fight, hopefully he'll be looking at a ranked opponent next. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I hope we see some more of them lead leg trips that he didn't showcase too much against Philo, but in the fights before that, he was just tripping people, and it was beautiful to watch. And I'd like to see a bit of that, because, like you say, you know, he's gone up, so he's not the biggest fella in that division. And like you say, if he's fighting somebody whose last fight was even bigger, then I do, you know, we've spoken about this, about Nathaniel moving up, and you do worry about when he gets to that sort of, you know, within that top 10, there's, you know, some big boys in there, and you wonder how that's going to work for him. But let's just kind of take comfort in the fact that Nathaniel Wood is an absolute fucking killer, and you know, he's on an absolute tear. And so I'm just hoping that we see that continue, and we see Nate get another win.
Just signed another 4-fight contract as well, I believe, Nathaniel Wood. So hopefully he's got a nice little pay increase, and he's taking on this new contract. And yeah, that'd be great if he can start off this contract with a big win in, I believe, enemy territory as well. And yeah, should be good for him. And then hopefully looking towards those rankings a little bit more.
Have you got
go on?
Have you got Tapology up?
I can get it up.
All right. Okay.
Why? What's the?
It's just a photograph of one of the fighters that I just want you to have a little look at.
Go on. Who's the name?
It's the first fight. It's Sharabuddin Magomedov.
Do you know what? I'm going to have to go to 294, aren't I?
You are.
And find this, yeah, because I won't be able to randomly spell that. Well, this is going to be interesting for the listeners. Shall we quickly talk about another fight? Because I tell you what, most people probably won't know who he is, but Ikram Aliskerov is a guy that I think the UFC have got really, really high hopes for. He won a Contender Series fight, then beat Phil Hawes in his middleweight UFC debut, and he absolutely starched him as well, like completely knocked him out. And he was booked to fight Paulo Costa. That's how highly they thought of him. He was booked to fight a ranked Paulo Costa in the top 10. That fell through. Then he was booked to fight Imavov, who's ranked 11th on this card. Imavov dropped out of the fight. So now poor old Wally Alves has gone up in weight to take on the fight on again, like short notice. I think he's going to get absolutely crushed. Aliskerov looks really good. And the UFC clearly feel like they've got something special with him, because they would not be booking him in his second UFC fight against the likes of Paulo Costa and Imavov if they didn't think that this guy could be a future title contender. So have a real good look at him. I think he's going to smash this one. You're not going to learn too much from it, because Wally Alves, God bless him, is, I think he's 3-4 in his last 7 fights. It's not going to be a good night at the office for Wally Alves, I can't imagine. And when you look at Aliskerov, 11 of his 14 wins have come by finish. I think he's had 5 knockouts, 5 submissions. Like, this guy can finish the fight anywhere. He's only got 1 loss in his career, and that's to a little-known fighter called Hamzat Chimaev. So, yeah, I think that Aliskerov is really... Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, that's how it seems. Let me just scroll down to find the picture of your... Oh, Magomed. Yes. Mate, I've heard of this guy as well. He's got like one... I don't know. He can't have one eye, but he's got like an eye that's like either discolored. There's no pick. There's something going on with one of his eyes.
I didn't even notice that until you've just said. But he's got a rope headband in the picture. He looks like Hercules. Like,
mate, he looks like Kumite vibes. Like he looks badass.
I don't know if that's his guard. I love it. Or he's got a cigarette on the go. He looks like he's just having a big old drag on a ciggy as well.
I can just notice that.
Just got to put that out before the next round.
A lot of people are talking about this guy, 11-0. He's
Yeah.
been fighting in organizations I've not really heard of, but this guy has got a bit of hype around him. And again, he's fighting Bruno Silva in his middleweight debut. And Bruno Silva is all right. He's not ranked, but he's one of those guys that's been around a little while now, has done all right. So yeah, Sharabutin Magomedov is opening up the card. 11-0.
Fighter name, Bullet.
Yeah.
If your fighter name's Bullet, you're not to be messed with, right?
That's true. If Valentina's taught us anything. Yeah, I think this guy, I've heard people talking about him. He's like, he clearly can't have, like, if you look at a picture of him, Sharabutin Magomedov, you find a picture of him, his right eye has got like, it's like, it's just like really white. There's something not quite right
the pigmentation
about it.
In his eye. There's something there, isn't there?
Something, but I assume he must be able to see perfectly out of it, because surely they've cottoned on to the Michael Bisping ways of you just faking your medicals and all that kind of stuff. But this guy's meant to be very, very good. So we will see kind of what happens with him. And then the only other fight I think to mention is also on the main card is Said Nurmagomedov versus Muin Gafurov. Said Nurmagomedov, not related to Khabib, despite the name, is a really phenomenal striker. Spinning attacks, got a nasty guillotine as well. Really great fighter down at bantamweight. He did lose his last fight to Jonathan Martinez, but I think that loss is going to actually age incredibly well. And also it was one of those slightly dodgy decisions as well. There's some people that scored that for Said Nurmagomedov, but even so, I think that loss will age well, because we saw Jonathan Martinez just this Saturday beat Adrian Yanez with a leg kick KO.
Oh, that was like horrible. It was
nasty. Poor old Adrian Yanez, who I really, really like as a fighter, just got his leg chewed up by Jonathan Martinez. Absolutely brutal. Oh, it is brutal. So yeah, so that loss is still going to age well, and there are people out there that thought Said beat Jonathan Martinez. So yeah, both those guys could be up in the top 5 at some point. You never know. But I think this is a match that Said should win. Muin Gafurov, I think he's only had one fight in the UFC, and he lost it against a guy called John Castaneda. It was a good fight. It was very close. And Gafurov did, I believe, had a point taken off of him, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken. But it was a close fight. And Gafurov throws some really fun strikes and stuff as well, some fun kicks as well. So that fight could be one of those really exciting fights that you're not even really aware of the people in it so much, but it ends up being one of those fights that you walk away from the card going, that was an incredible fight. But yeah, that's all I've really got to talk about with 294, I think. Okay. Anything else from you?
No, I don't think so. Obviously 294 goes down this Saturday at the Etihad Arena, Abu Dhabi. I can't wait. I think we could see some phenomenal action in those that main and co-main, and however these fights have come about through all sorts of injury and madness, I think, like you say, just to kind of sort of finish off this chat, you'd never get that in boxing. What organisation in the world goes, shit, we've lost our 2 headline fights. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to make it even more exciting. And they just pull these out of the bag. It's fantastic. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Just amazing stuff. And I just wonder if, unless there's anything else you want to talk about before we go, we should just very briefly mention GamCare, who are a fantastic charity that we are working with that help people with gambling addiction. So if you are someone that is suffering from a gambling addiction, or if you are a friend or a family member of someone that is suffering from a gambling addiction, just realize you're not alone. GamCare do fantastic work. They have a 24/7 helpline for you to call day or night. It's 24/7. And you can get help you need. If you're not comfortable talking to someone on the phone, they've got the little chat box on their website. You can just type away in there, talk to someone about your issues or someone that you're concerned about, And also, if it's bad, they can get you counseling sessions. Like, we're in a mental health crisis at the moment, and you know, people need counseling for many, many reasons. GamCare have done such a phenomenal job at getting counselors there that can help you with this problem, and they'll get you them quick. It's not a ridiculously long waiting list like with a lot of things. They can get you this help very, very quickly. Again, not just if you're suffering from a gambling addiction, but if your friend or family member is suffering from a gambling addiction and it is affecting you, you can phone them up, you can talk to them, and you can get these counseling sessions as well for free. It's an amazing charity. They do fantastic work. So, yes, Stu, have you got the deets?
I have. Yep. You can call for free on 0808 8020 133. That's 0808 8020 133. Or you can, like Blake said, there's the pop-up box where you can talk to somebody live on the website, and that website is gamcare.org.uk. It's gamcare.org.uk. I think that's all she wrote.
I think that's all she wrote. Can't wait. 294. Oh, can I do a little plug for something I'm doing? Is
Do
that
it,
right?
yeah, of course.
All right. So if you're still listening at the end of the episode, you probably switched off. But this Saturday at UFC 294, there's going to be a little watch-along party for people watching on TNT Sports. I think you can press the red button on TNT Sports, or maybe go to the Discovery Plus app. I should know more details. I don't. But I'm going to be hosting this one. I did one before for the Paris card where it was Nick Pete, Rob Beckett, myself, and why am I blanking on the fighter that we had there? Jack Shaw. And this time around, I don't know if I can announce guests just in case something goes wrong, and I don't think they've announced the guest. But we've got a huge British MMA fighter. We've got a smaller in stature boxer, but can't say too much about it. And then we've got another huge guy who used to play football, and you'll know him from being quite funny. But yeah, that is, I can't say who it is. I think if I announce it, then people will be pissed off with me. But I'm hosting this one, so if you don't fancy listening to the commentary at UFC 294, or you just fancy tuning into some idiots chatting away about the fights in between the fights, then hit the red button on TNT, and you can see me trying to blag my way through never hosted anything other than this show in my life. And I've got you to help me. So send some nice tweets, some questions during the show. We will try and answer them. Don't slag me off, because I'll probably see it and you'll see me crumble on live TV. Yeah, that'll be that. So if you fancy doing that, give that a watch. And I'm sure that even if you're recording it and watching it the next day, they will be doing something with that footage to make a little kind of half an hour highlight show or something like that. Or you may even still be able to go onto the Discovery Plus app if you have it, and tune into the watch along to hear us talking about the fights as you're watching the fights in the morning. However you want to do it, it's there. I'm hosting an event. It will probably go horribly wrong. Tune in for the carnage. Yeah, we done?
I think so. And then obviously we will then be back to do a post 294 show as well, which will be coming your way. And speaking of big British fellas, hopefully, fingers crossed, I won't say the name. I won't say the name, but hopefully we've got one coming up soon. And then we will be also catching up with Melissa Dixon over the next few weeks as well, to talk about her career and a recent win in the UFC. Okay, other than that, we will see you next time.
See you later, guys.
Bye.